Hello, this is Noreen Crone-Findlay from Crone-Findlay.com and TottyTalksCrafts.com. And this is one of the videos that's going to be also put up on the Merrick's, Inside Merrick's is the blog where this will also be going. And so that's at www.merrickslooms.com, because this is part of the 4-month co-creation that I'm doing with Merrick's Looms, which is just so much fun. And as you can see, this is an epic, it's like Tolstoy could have written this title. So what this is about is, if you have a Merrick's loom or a frame loom that you don't have shed opening devices built into the loom, here's a quick and easy way to be able to open sheds using a pin, a stick, and a loop of string, and a knitting needle. But I ran out of room. So there you go. How to open sheds with a pin, a stick, and a loop or two of string. And here is my, here's my own website-y information, Crone-Findlay.com and TottyTalksCrafts.com. So I'm going to lift this all up and away and get started showing you this quick and easy way to make shed opening devices. Now, I was blessed with being given a Laney loom, a used Laney loom from Merrick's, but the one that I was given doesn't have the shed. It's a dedicated bead one, and I like having shed opening devices. Now you can see I'm working on both sides of the loom. I did one bracelet on this side, and I then also turned it over and am doing a bracelet on this side of the loom. Now, I find it really confusing if I don't have a file folder stuck between the layers, because otherwise you get this kind of weird moire effect between the two sets of strings, so it's like, ugh. So sticking a file folder is great, because you can do things like park your shuttle and beading needle when you're not using them in the pocket of the file folder. Now, to speed things up, what I did was I took a little stick and I went under, over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under, over my warp strands. This is going to open my first shed for me just by tipping it on its side. Then I want to have a second shed. So what I did was I then took my beautiful purple knitting needle. This actually came from a thrift shop. It was an orphan needle and it didn't have a partner, and I thought, oh, it's so pretty. It's not going to be good for knitting, but perfect for weaving. So what I did then was I took my pretty purple knitting needle, say that one fast, and I wove it into the set of threads that had been behind. You can see that I've got a cross happening here because I've gone over the ones that were under the stick and under the ones that were over. And so that's giving me my second shed, which is not going to do me a whole lot of good because I'm going to have to pick that shed every time. And I'd rather not have to pick it every time. So I'm going to use 2 strands of, these are actually string heddles that I made for an Inco loom, but I'm going to use them to lift the second shed on the while I'm weaving my bracelets on the laney. So what I've done is I've taken my string loops, all the way through this shed. Now what I'm going to do is use a kilt pin, and I'm just going to stand up and make sure that I'm holding that in the right place. There. Okay, so I'm going to take my kilt pin, and you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to push on the camera to take it down closer and hope I don't make anyone seasick by doing that. And hopefully this will show up a little bit. Oh, sorry for the big lurch. YouTube will say to me, your video is shaky. And I'll say, why, yes, it is. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and put the loop of the end of the loop into the pin. Then I'm going to scoot down into the opening between the first two strings of the second shed, and I'm going to scoop up all four of the, because I've got my strings doubled here because I'm using 2 strands, so it'll show up a little better. And I'm going to scoop up the next set of strings, scoop up the next set. So you can see I am capturing the warp strands of the second shed, and I'm scooping up the strings of the loop that are between the warp strands. I've picked them all up now, and I'm now taking the second end of the heddle string and picked it up, and there, that's closed. But now I will pull my knitting needle out, and I'm going to just encourage each of those loops. I want them to be about the same length, so I'm just using the tip of my knitting needle to pull on them, just to so that I can lift it. This guy needs to go back further to lift, and so this will lift my second shed. And when I'm not going to use it, I bring my, whoops, I need to come back up again just so you can see what I'm doing. And hopefully, yes, now I'm in screen. And to open my shed, I just simply flip my stick shuttle on the side, and I take, because this is an affinity bracelet that I'm weaving, I'm combining bead weaving with using the embroidery floss to weave with that. Now, what you saw me do just now was take my warp strand of my beading needle and take it right up and put it over the end of the loom to get it out of the way while, and also that makes it easier to capture it while I'm weaving. So now my shuttle goes through the open shed, and I will beat that down, close my first shed, and I'm just going to beat again gently with the tip of my with my shuttle. And now I will lift my next, and because it's the large kilt pin, you can get your fingers in to lift it up. So you lift it up and your shuttle goes through. Make sure that you've captured the end of your yarn or thread in that side loop. This is silk, and it's catching on the rough spots of my fingers. Silk does that. I'm going to scoot that under the bead strand, and that shed is now closed, and I am going to just beat that into place. Beat, 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 beat. So now again, you see your pin will travel down when you open your shed with your stick, and pull your bead strand out of the way. Your shuttle goes through, goes under your stray strand there, your end, and when it's closed, beat, 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 lift with your pin, and we have done a nice little arch there, and we will go under the bead strand and beat, beat, beat. Now the shuttles that I'm using are made from rulers. This one I don't like. This was an experiment, and I don't like it that much. I put the pointy noggins at both ends, and I'm not crazy about this one. What I do is I buy wooden rulers at thrift shops and bring them home, and I drill a hole at this point, and another hole here, and another hole up here, and a hole here. And then I use a fret saw and cut out this shape, and then I file them and sand them. And this is decorative wood trim. It works great for making shuttles too. So these just are, they're my favorite shuttles. They just work beautifully. And so I use them all the time when I'm using loops and strings and bits of pins. So there you have it. How to weave I wonder if I can get this back down here without too much ado. Here we go. How to open sheds with a pin, a silk, and a loop of string or two by Noreen Crone-Findlay. So go gently, weave happily, and may there be joy in your day, and wellness and happiness too. See you soon. Bye for now.